Welcome back to another video of the phrase Crazed, and in this video we're going to get whisked, stirred and served with style because we're flipping and counting down the top 10 food inspire phrases. So let's get cooking. At number 10, yes, it's where we have a saying served with skepticism and seasoning. Yes, it's take it with a grain of salt. It's the go-to phrase when you're not quite so sure of a certain news article or some bit of drama. But where did it come from? Well, you have to go back until the days of the Roman Empire, where it's alleged that Pliny the Elder made it popular back then. And it was all about where salt was thought to neutralise poison. So, it goes to show wise sayings can last the test of time. Number 9. Ever been in a situation where the pressure is rising? Kitchens, by nature, can be places of heat and exhaustion. And it's where the saying, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Or in other words, if you're not quite up to the challenge, perhaps step aside and give someone else who is willing to give it a go. But where did it come from? While it's hard to pinpoint the exact phrase, it was made popular by President Harry S. Truman of the 1940s. And it would go without saying that Truman did face some heated situations. End of the Second World War, the commencement of the Cold War, and just being president itself would have been a hot enough situation as it is. Just goes to show whether it's politics or pot roast, heat can reveal the character. Number 8. Are you a result-orientated person? Do results matter more than promises? Well, you're going to like this one. The proof is in the pudding. It reminds us that taste and truth comes from experience. But where did it come from? Why puddings? Well, back in the Middle Ages, puddings were used quite extensively and they were more savoury than sweet. Sometimes they could be encased in a cloth during cooking. So you really wouldn't know until you actually tasted the pudding to know whether it was good or not. And these days, who doesn't like a pudding now? Well, it goes to show, taste can last the test of ages. Number 7. Are you a project manager or part of a project? What happens when projects go wrong, when everyone decides to put their 2 cents worth in? Yes, too many cooks can spoil the broth. Or sometimes it can be referred to as too many cooks in the kitchen. Yes, it's at times like this when too many opinions can ruin a good thing. It's interesting because it has been simmering since the 1500s and still applies to boardrooms and buffets alike. And number 6. And for number 6, we salute the earners and those breadwinners of the world. Yes, a sizzling phrase known as bring home the bacon, which also refers to someone who brings home earnings to look after a family, or could also mean to achieve a particular goal. Now, where did it come from? Well, it may trace back to medieval English traditions where loyal husbands were actually rewarded with bacon. Sometimes after their first 12 months of marriage, a husband could be rewarded with this tasty treat for being loyal to his wife. But what about today? Has it developed any way since then? Well, yes. Back in the early 20th century, Joe Gans, a famous American boxer, was quoted as saying that he would win and bring home the bacon. As it turns out, he did win, and the newspapers went mad. Hence, we see this term used in its modern tone. Number 5. Have you ever exposed a secret or said something perhaps that you shouldn't have? Well, you probably spilt the beans. Yes, we've all been guilty of that, opening our mouth before our brain is in gear and letting slip something that should have been kept secret. But where did it come from? Well, you might be surprised to know that it actually came from ancient Greece, where voting rituals back then, beans were used in order to reveal the outcome. So, it's a phrase for juicy gossip and accidental confessions which has stood the test of ages. Number 4. Are you a smooth talker? Are you able to get things by sweet talking your boss or someone that's important to you? Well, you are someone who likes to butter someone up. Yes, when there's somebody that means a lot to us or that our respect also can get us places, we might use flattery in order to get to the destination that we want to go to. But you might be interested to know that it has been around for centuries. How so? Well, ancient Indians, in their culture, would offer butterballs to their gods in order to compliment them somewhat. Interesting to see how such traditions have developed into our day. Number 3. Have you ever changed jobs or homes only to find that the current situation was worse than the previous? Well, you have jumped out of the frying pan into the fire, effectively escaping one mess only to land in a worse situation. Now, you'd be interested to know that this phrase has been around for a very long time. Renditions of it existed back in the 1500s, and in fact there are some sources that suggest that similar styled phrases and sayings also existed in ancient Greece. It goes to show that rash decisions have been around for as long as fire and cooking. Number 2. Have you ever felt stuck? Are you in an awkward situation? Well, you are in a pickle. Yes, it's that go-to expression that can describe all sorts of precarious situations that we might find ourselves in. But where did it come from? Well, we can thank Shakespeare for this. It's alleged that he used this in The Tempest, but it's quite likely that this phrase has continued to ferment through Dutch and English pickling traditions. Yes, it's a sour situation, but such a sweet saying. And finally, number 1. It's for those situations where we've experienced loss, but it's been totally outside of our control. Yes, if we're upset, we are crying over spilt milk. Milk has been spilt for as long as we can remember. In fact, you can go back to the 17th century where this phrase really took pace. So it goes to show there's been a lot of regret over these years, but we need to remind ourselves that some messes simply aren't worth the meltdown. So, that's our countdown of those culinary catchphrases. Did we get it right? Which one most resonates with you? Please drop it in the comments. And if you're hungry for more, please subscribe to the phrase Craze as we work on our wordplay and wisdom. See you next time.